Bleeding Kansas, a place where two extremes collapsed into passion and madness. The struggle for power was on, and the soil called for blood. From roughly 1854 to 1859 centered around the Kansas Territory, which had become the front line in the nation's escalating sectional conflict over slavery. It was ignited by the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, which effectively repealed the Missouri Compromise by allowing the settlers of Kansas and Nebraska territories to determine for themselves whether to allow slavery within their borders, a concept known as popular sovereignty. This led to a rush of both pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers into Kansas, each hoping to influence the outcome of the eventual vote on slavery. Here are several first-hand accounts and excerpts from individuals who experienced or observed the violence of Bleeding Kansas, 1854 to 1861, a violent prelude to the American Civil War. These testimonies come from abolitionists, pro-slavery settlers, journalists, and local citizens. Each reflects the chaos and division of the time. 1. John Brown, abolitionist. Letter from 1856. In a letter to his family after the Pottawatomie Massacre, where Brown and his followers killed 5 pro-slavery settlers, quote, "I have only acted in self-defense. The crimes and brutalities inflicted upon Free State men have gone unanswered long enough. I believe I was doing God's work in striking down the oppressors." End quote. Brown saw himself as a divine agent of justice. His raid created intense national controversy and fear among slaveholders. 2. Sarah Robinson. Kansas, Its Interior and Exterior Life, 1856. Sarah was a Free State settler and wife of Charles Robinson, the first governor of Kansas. Quote, "Lawrence was again under siege. Women wept for their husbands, children clung to their mothers in fear, and every knock at the door was met with dread. We built barricades and kept watches through the night." End quote. Her memoir paints a vivid picture of the daily terror faced by anti-slavery settlers in Kansas. 3. David Atchison, pro-slavery senator from Missouri. Speech 1856. Senator Atchison rallied Missourians to invade Kansas and control the elections. Quote, "There are 1,100 men coming over from Platte County to vote, and if that ain't enough, we can send 5,000 more, enough to kill every goddamned abolitionist in the territory." End quote. This statement reveals the organized, often armed pro-slavery aggression designed to sway Kansas's status. 4. Charles Sumner. The Crime Against Kansas speech, May 1856. While not from Kansas, Sumner's speech in the Senate was based on first-hand testimonies. Quote, "The soil of Kansas is soaked by the blood of its sons, shed by the hands of ruffians from Missouri and the South. Free speech and free labor are throttled by the slave power." End quote. This speech would lead to his caning on the Senate floor, further intensifying national outrage. 5. James Redpath, journalist and abolitionist, 1859. Redpath traveled through Kansas and interviewed many participants. Quote, "I saw homes burned, fields destroyed, and women huddled in makeshift shelters, trembling." In Osawatomie, John Brown stood firm against overwhelming odds. It was frontier warfare, brutal, personal, and lawless. End quote. Redpath's reporting helped shape Northern opinion against slavery. 6. A letter from anonymous pro-slavery settler, Leavenworth, 1855. From a settler to his family back east, quote, "The abolitionists have turned this land into a pit of murder and madness. They seek to take what is not theirs and drive honest men from their lands. We ride out at night to defend our way of life." End quote. This quote shows how both sides saw themselves as under threat, fueling the violence. As settlers poured in, tensions rapidly escalated. Pro-slavery forces, many from neighboring Missouri, known as border ruffians, crossed into Kansas to vote illegally and intimidate anti-slavery settlers. They supported the establishment of a pro-slavery territorial government in Lecompton. In response, anti-slavery settlers formed their own government in Topeka, challenging the legitimacy of the pro-slavery regime. The existence of two competing governments within the territory created a lawless and unstable environment, soon spiraling into open violence. The conflict turned bloody with events like the sack of Lawrence in 1856, where a pro-slavery mob looted and burned the anti-slavery stronghold of Lawrence, Kansas. Days later, abolitionist John Brown, outraged by the attack, led a retaliatory raid at Pottawatomie Creek, where he and his followers brutally murdered 5 pro-slavery settlers. These events shocked the nation and fueled the perception that civil war might erupt even before the South seceded. Skirmishes, ambushes, and guerrilla warfare continued throughout the territory. Federal troops were often deployed to quell violence, but they could do little to restore real order. The national press and political leaders used Bleeding Kansas as a symbol of the failure of popular sovereignty, and it became a flashpoint in the debate between North and South. The violence underscored the deep moral and political divisions in the country and helped solidify the new Republican Party, which opposed the expansion of slavery into the territories. Bleeding Kansas did not fully subside until 1859, and Kansas would eventually enter the Union as a free state in January 1861. However, the legacy of the conflict left deep scars and heightened animosity between pro- and anti-slavery factions, making compromise increasingly impossible. It served as a grim prelude to the larger conflict that would soon engulf the nation, the American Civil War. Please like, subscribe, and share this channel with your friends.